I worked in this drawing using Willow Charcoal, a couple of charcoal pencils, some nitrum charcoal and also a blending stump and erasers, and also some masking tape for lifting out. At the beginning I worked in the Willow Charcoal because it's the easiest to move around and rub out. Fairly early on I blocked in some of the larger dark masses so I had a sense of the general distribution of tone across the form, and then I switched to working with a charcoal pencil. The charcoal pencil allowed me to add a little more structure to the drawing, and I started to create some high contrast on the lid of the coffee pot with some hard edges between light and dark. This will be important as the drawing progresses to create the impression of the metallic surface where the light bounces off it in a very defined way. Fairly early on I used a rubber quite often just to alter the way that the charcoal sat on the paper. So just dragging the rubber lightly across the charcoal to blend it a little. I also used an eraser pencil, and the marks that you make with an eraser really should be regarded as just a continuation of your drawing, and they can have equal weight to the actual drawn lines. I like to include a combination of marks which are blended and some which you can see how the charcoal's been applied to the paper, and I find this contrast is what keeps the drawing interesting. And you can also see me using some masking tape, drawing on the back of a piece of masking tape with a pencil, just to lift out some very fine highlights. And this will just allow you to create more variety in the scale of your mark making. And then I used a piece of willow charcoal turned on its edge, and I made a series of vertical marks using the side of the willow down the body of the coffee pot. And this was really just part of my strategy of creating as many different types of marks as I could from one single media to create lots of visual interest. As I drew, I varied the direction of my mark making. Some of the marks follow the form and some run across the form or counter to it. This is to try and create the impression both of the surface of the metal itself and also of the light which is reflecting off it. In some areas I added background tone to the drawing. By adding this context we make the finished drawing look a little bit more considered. It also reduces the contrast in tone between the object and the background, allowing you to create lost and found edges, particularly where the object is furthest from the viewer, and this will give the drawing a sense of depth. Towards the end of the drawing you can see me work with the eraser pencil and more charcoal to increase the contrast and definition in some parts, particularly around the reflection on the lid and also the parts of the coffee pot which are nearest to the viewer. This gives them a little bit more prominence in the finished drawing.